being here with us today. I am very happy to see you here, and especially today because we are going to start talking about best maintenance practices. Best maintenance practices are something that we all need to embrace if we want to be world class. So let us start talking about best maintenance practices and the importance of them. Maintenance is a wonderful activity. Maintenance can be so important because it contributes to the good operation of a business, contributes to the good economy of a company, the good economy of the community, and finally the good economy of the country. So it is critical that we do a very good maintenance if we are into it. Now, we will start this series of recommendations of the best practices because in reality sometimes we utilize the wrong tools, we utilize the wrong techniques, and then the results are not really so good. The results are not as good as we would like them to be. So let us take some notes here of anything that you find that you were probably not sure or aware. Now, we will start with these recommendations, and I will try to be as objective as possible because the more objective I can be, the better for all of us. So let us begin with one principle in mind. Do we really love maintenance? Do we love our profession? Because if we don't, we probably should be thinking of something else, really. Love in our job is shown by doing it right, or even better if possible, okay? Now, if we really think that this is the profession of our life, then let us do it really good. Let us do it in a very professional manner. Now, let us be careful about our way of communicating with other people. Sometimes there is not enough quality in our communication with people. Perhaps sometimes we are not as clear when we communicate. Perhaps sometimes we're not as respectful as we should when we communicate. So this is critical. One of the first things that we need to do to be good professionals in maintenance is to have good communication skills. Let us constantly look for opportunities to improve those skills. Now, we want to make sure that to do your job, for any of us to do our job, it is critical to have the right tools. And not only have the right tools, but knowing the correct usage of those tools. So this is something that we are going to be doing constantly. Keep your tools clean and in the right place at all times, so it doesn't take you much to go find a tool that you need. All right? Now, we want to make sure also when we are going to start a maintenance service, we try to make sure that we have the manual or the instructions of that particular piece of equipment. In some cases, we do not have the original draft or the original directions of the equipment. No problem. Let us take pictures. Let us make sure that we understand how the equipment is running right now. Take measurements, take pictures, because we are going to make sure that that job is finished correctly. Now, before we start disassembling something, the optimal condition will be to assure that we do have all the tools we are going to need. And also, if possible, have all the parts that we are going to need. Now, once we are ready to start intervening a piece of equipment, let us make sure that we have the right conditions. And we're now going to talk about safety. We need to make sure that we are going to disconnect the power to that machine. Sometimes it is not only electrical power, sometimes it is hydraulic power, sometimes it is pneumatic power. All those energies need to be under control and shut down before we start repairing the machine, okay? So if you go to the switch and turn off the energy, make sure that you do have the lock to assure that no one else is going to start the machine. On top of that, I strongly recommend the tag out as well, meaning to have a tag, to have a sign, a visual that tells people we are repairing this machine. Please do not energize. We're working in the motor that is under the machine, because sometimes that happens. People don't see you and they say, hey, who turned this machine off? Let us turn it on. Oh my God. We get bad results there. So make sure also, as I was telling you, that if we have some load in the machine, make sure that you unload that machine. It can be materials, it can be some energy in the form of compressed air. Maybe if we are going to disassemble a pump, it is possible that the column of that pump is loaded. Even if it does have a check valve, make sure that you shut down that line so that the pressure of that line, of that column of liquid, any fluid that you have there, will not discharge when you disassemble your pump. No, so make sure that there is total safety and security when we are going to work on a piece of equipment. If there is some equipment that is being moved with pneumatic power, even if you shut down the feed of the air, compressed air, make sure that you activate those pistons or cylinders so that they eliminate all the accumulated energy that you have in your machine. That is a good practice. Assure that nothing bad is going to happen. Take your time. Now, once we are going to start disassembling, a very good practice is to mark. Have always handy a little marker and put a little line that shows this is the upper position of this plate. We are going to make sure that when we reassemble, this line is going to be in front of this other line. Now when you are taking apart more than one piece, the more I recommend paying attention to those conditions and to those positions. I don't know how many times I have found machines that have been assembled wrong, and you probably have as well. So it is critical that we assure that we understand and we take notes or make markings to assure that the parts are going to go back in the correct position. Now, if you have the original diagram of the machine, if you have the drawings, make sure that when you are disassembling, you are verifying what the instructions are telling you. You will find, I am completely sure if you haven't yet, that in some cases we discover that the machine was wrongly assembled before. The machine was repaired by someone else, and there is a washer missing, there is a separator missing, there is a seal that was put backwards, etc. There are many possibilities for mistakes. You don't want to have mistakes in your or errors in your operation. So once you have done that, even the covers of your equipment, put marks on everything. Put marks on the bolts that go there. When you are going to disconnect some electric cables, also make sure that when you remove that cable, it does have an identification of the spot where you're disconnecting it from. And if it doesn't, make sure that you get one there. Put a number, make a drawing, identify the color of the cable, etc. But make sure that anyone, not only you, will be able to put that thing back together with no problem. sometimes, especially when the disassembly is complicated, it is possible that you will finish your shift and you will not be the person who puts it back together. So there's a big reason for us to have those visuals and all those notes, because that way we are helping the other person who is going to reassemble to make sure that things go in place, in the right place. Now, assure that we take notes, make drafts, take pictures, etc., so that everything goes back into the right place all the time. Now, when we do this, it is important to keep in mind that perhaps not all those parts are going to be changed. Perhaps you are going to disassemble something that has a seal that is in perfect shape that can be reutilized. So it is critical that we disassemble carefully so that we do not cause damage to those parts that can be reutilized. Now, on the other hand, if there are some screws or bolts that take a lot of effort, what happens to a screw, to a bolt and a nut when you tighten really hard? Well, they are deformed. They are changed in their shape. They have this elasticity normal in all kinds of metals. So that effort that has been put into that bolt, it is not convenient to use it again. So in those cases where you are using bolts that take a lot of effort, make sure before you start disassembling that you have the renewal parts, meaning new bolts, new nuts, especially the lock washers. Lock washers have an edge that dies in the first time that you tighten. That lock washer should never be used again. It's not good anymore. So, and on the other hand, if we're going to do mechanical work, this is very critical. We will be facing, especially today, we face a lot of different measurements. We have the metric system, which is the technical, professional system, and we have the English. It shouldn't be called English anymore because England has progressed and has eliminated the English system, but it is still used in the United States. Unfortunately, in the United States, we have lots of bad things that are still in place because many people have not done enough to upgrade, to learn, to implement metric systems. Same thing with time, you know. People using 3 p.m., 4 p.m., that shouldn't exist. We should be talking the 13 hours, the 15 hours, the 17 hours, whatever, so that way there's no confusion. But that's another thing. Now, be careful about which torque you're going to apply to your bolts. Be sure that you have the right wrenches. Never utilize an extra pipe to make a bigger lever of that wrench because it was not designed for that, and you're putting additional unnecessary effort in your bolts. So one important part too is to assure that we utilize correctly our tools. I don't know how many times I have seen people using a screwdriver as a chisel. That's not good. We have seen people hammering something with something that's not a hammer, with another tool, with a piece of whatever. That's not good. So make sure that we also eliminate the usage of low-tech tools like the crescent wrenches. Please, a professional will never use crescent wrenches. Those are for people who don't know what they're doing. You never should be using adjustable wrenches. Use the right measurement so that you have security and safety in your operation. And on the other hand, now we are going to start paying attention to a new subject that we had not yet worked here, that's going to be about lubrication. Lubrication and lubricants are going to be the subject of our next module, and I encourage you all to pay attention, pay special attention. This has been our module number 1 in this new series of the best practices, the best maintenance practices. I am sure that you, with your experience, may have many other recommendations. Why don't you share them with us, please? I will be very happy to acknowledge your help, your support. Send us information about your best maintenance practices to the email that's going to show here in a few seconds. Thank you very much. I will be very happy to receive your mails and answer them personally.